4. It is 6:58 a.m. Early risers. We are here for the City of Port Orange Coastal PPA Union negotiations. I'll start it up with Article 13, leave of absence. And seeing that Michelle is in the room in person, I'll let her speak to the individual articles.
Okay. So for this article, there's no change that we've proposed back. I know there was some question about payment of benefits when on leave, so I'd like to address that if that's sufficient.
Sure.
So when people are on FMLA, under federal law, we pay the employer portion just as normal, and the employee pays the employee portion just as normal. And if they go beyond that or on an unpaid leave of absence that is not non-FMLA, the process is that the employer may pay the employer portion and continue that routine. Or in some places you'd be responsible for the entire facsimile premium. My understanding is we have continued to pay the employer portion, and the employee portion has continued to be paid by the employee. And so that would not be a contract matter, that would be a city policy matter that's covered in city FMLA type policies.
And I just want to add something to what Michelle said, that by no change, this is exactly what we have in
Yes,
place right
right.
now.
This is
what
yeah.
we've currently been operating
Exactly,
under.
so we propose keeping that the same as those other issues are.
Yeah, taking that language out is good with me. We're good with this one on that one.
Okay, Doug, did we need to sign anything else on this one, or are we
Yes,
good?
could you change for me, please?
Yep. All right, so we'll see.
That's funny. That's the one I thought we might have issues with, but we don't.
We're here to make it easy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You gotta sign one? I
Okay.
gotta sign one, okay.
Okay. The next one's Article 15, and that is for holidays. Thank you for, that clarification as we were discussing, the one lieutenant in particular who works, different schedule than, say you do because you're on a patrol. So under Article 15.3, we changed it to state that, for the non-12-hour shift employee, there on the fourth line, the member shall receive the number of hours of holiday pay that he or she would normally work as part of his or her work schedule at the regular straight time rate of pay. So we took out the 8 hours and just the normal work hour. And the reason why we did that, it could very well be that we say federal lieutenant on a 40-hour week schedule, and their pay is adjusted as a 40-hour. So whether it was 8 hours or 8.4, maybe they did 4/10. We just put it as their normal work schedule. And I think that covered your concern.
It absolutely did.
Good.
I'm good with that one.
And thank you for bringing that one up,
Mhm.
so that we build in the flexibility for those situations.
Michelle, if you would see that, please.
Yes,
on my
sir.
map.
We're doing it.
Oh, both sides.
Yeah. Then we're good. Thank you.
Did the other side on that one?
Yeah, I'm not used to two-sided.
I
Yeah,
don't do it
I'm not-
two-sided.
that's all right.
I'm like,
Sorry, I printed it, that's,
So,
didn't realize it was two-sided till we sat down.
All right, very
so
good.
Article 14, grievance procedure, that was one, Warren, you stated you still wanted Greg to take a look at, so we held that one until his return. I see you got him up here bright and early this morning.
I did, he had to get up early.
And I just wanted to say that the only thing that has changed is on page 3 is just removing a typo because it said BB on the bottom paragraph.
Greg, did you get an opportunity to review, or?
Well, is this the only change from the current?
Current, yes.
Is striking the word B that's repeated?
Yes. We might as well, right? Why not?
I didn't know if y'all had changes, because that's what, for our discussion, y'all were still reviewing it. You know, this goes back quite a few meetings ago, and so we held off on this last week simply because he was gonna have you, revisit it to make sure that there were no changes from what we originally discussed, and Carly can cover that if we need.
And my understanding is that you and Matt were on the same page with this one.
Yeah, I don't remember it, and if the only thing we're doing, I just wanna make sure, with the exception of that word being scratched, this is what's in the current contract.
What's in the current contract, we're just removing a word,
Yeah.
I think there was the 10-day thing on contract changes, or, city
Subject.
policy changes. I think that was the concern, if I remember,
I think
several meetings ago.
I think we're thinking of the administrative section. There's another section where we changed it, and I think it was 30 days that we changed it. And it's not this article, it's another article, but I know what you're referring to.
Okay. Yeah, if you just want to look it over, and you're good with it?
I'm dying to ask, when's the last time the lieutenant filed an agreement?
Hopefully we never have to, but if we do, I want to be protected. If you're comfortable.
Yeah,
with it.
oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
if that's the only change, we're,
And then, the final article for discussion is Article 25, Retirement Plan. And, on your point, Warren, from last week, I'd like for Carly to discuss, our stance on that.
Okay.
On the retirement.
Okay.
Remember,
I understand, John. Thank you. I appreciate that. Just give me a second. But basically, I think your concern is when this comes into effect. And when you read this language, it talks about the fact that we're agreeing to amend the ordinance. And based on 166.041, which is a Florida statute, it's always second reading when the ordinance comes into effect. So I know we had no concerns with this language. Greg, if you had concerns with.
we just wanted to know, when do you think it would actually go in? Because, as Warner was pointing out, it says, in the year, well, we just want to make sure it's going to be as soon as possible, not, we'll put it off for 10 months.
Yeah, I think that is definitely an intent, and I believe, John, correct me if I'm wrong, there's like an impact study that has to be done or something?
Well, so what I'm waiting on, and I should have it, hopefully by tomorrow, as we discussed, is I have to have the draft ordinance.
Right.
Once I have the draft ordinance from legal, then I will provide it to Mr. Little, the pension board chair, which is Warren, Karen Rosenbaum, and then what Mr. Little has said is because we're prior to the October 1st, date for city or statewide cities updating the valuation, he should be able to have that within 30 days. So I would say that, if we get this week, Warren, I think that at the very least, this could be first reading October, potentially second reading, the second meeting in October, because I don't have to have the cost impact until the second meeting. So, I don't want to jump the gun and get it on there too soon, but, we want to get it on there as soon as possible. But it's dependent on Mr. Little getting the study back.
Right.
And for the record, because now, Greg, you're in the room as well. I had permission to speak to Mr. Little from the pension chair. Once I kind of knew the direction of city council, I spoke to them, and Mr. Little said, he's like, John, this isn't a simple undertaking. Since the last valuation, not only did you implement a line of duty death benefit, but 2 weeks ago, or 2 meetings ago, you significantly revised the entire pension plan by passing the retirement at 20, drop at 20, and high at 3, that I have to redo the entire valuation because of that. So that's the only concern of Mr. Little getting done in time frame we've asked.
Okay. Yeah. So what I was asking for at the last meeting was just something so that if we don't put the language of the pension in the contract, and I'm not casting aspersions on the city, but if you guys decided to change the pension ordinance and we don't have it in here, then the contract doesn't protect the pension as it will be written under this new ordinance. So that's why I was just asking for a line in there that says, as written upon the passage of the new ordinance, right? So as of the date of the new ordinance becoming effective. So meaning, since we don't have word for word what the mention is in here, let's say we get this passed, second reading in October. So that would be the date that the contract refers back to, in case you tried to make changes. Not that you will, but in case you tried to make changes. Otherwise, the contract doesn't protect the guys. It just says, oh, well, we will do, yeah, bargaining units, basically as set forth in the police pension fund ordinance. Well, if you change the ordinance, then the contract doesn't protect what we're fighting for now. You following?
I don't see that as a concern, because basically, even if we completely eliminated the current proposed language for the retirement plan, they can't change the retirement plan without negotiating and either agreeing with us or going through the impasse process. So this language saying the parties agree to change the pension plan as follows means basically we're protected that everything else that's currently in the plan that's not being changed by this language, they can't change unilaterally, and they have to implement just the changes we put in there. So I'm not worried about that at all.
Are the changes that you're referring to, Warren, are they sufficiently laid out in item 1 and 2, where, in that first part, so it says, in year 1, blah, 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 we'll bring forward the ordinance amending the police pension fund for the following changes for tier 1 members 1 and 2.
Right, but all
Is that enough
specificity? Yes, I'm good with what the changes are. The problem is we don't have the rest of the pension in here.
That's all right. That's standard. That's pretty standard from my side. Now, granted, I'm not the pension guy, but from the collective bargaining standpoint, the pension article is kind of an outlier because it's the only one that doesn't recite what the current rules are. All you cite in there is how you're changing the pension for this time around. So I know what you're saying, but I'm telling you that ain't a concern. That ain't a worry.
Okay, well, I can't
argue
argue with the attorney.
Warren, I can also tell you that I went through this exact same conversation with Fire last year.
Yeah.
And we actually had, outside legal counsel, for pensions, look at it and says, yep, the pension article, everything related to your pension is covered by an ordinance. And it clearly states in the first paragraph of this article that the pension is in it by ordinance. So you're only putting in that article the changes that we've agreed to moving forward this way. Because if you remember, all those other pension article changes that we had were in your last contract that we did in April, and those are no longer in there.
Yep,
agreed, which is what my concern was.
No, but I see this issue comes up everywhere, every time, and it's confusing because you go, well, if it ain't in the contract, even though we negotiated, 3 years ago, then it doesn't apply anymore. But it's the one exception because it's the only thing where these agreements that we're making this year, they're going to get put into the ordinance. The ordinance, in a sense, becomes a part of the contract. Okay?
Right.
And so next time around, if we don't make any pension changes, we don't have to leave this current language in there because it's already been incorporated in the new pension ordinance. And so the pension ordinance is what we call incorporated by reference, which means it becomes a part of the contract. So if they were to change any of the things that we're talking about, I can file a grievance under the contract saying, hey, look, you basically amended the retirement plan. You're violating the contract by amending the pension ordinance when we didn't agree to it. So yeah, it comes up everywhere, and it's a lot of times confusing because I've actually seen once or twice where parties tried to leave in there changes that have been agreed to contracts before, and it just doesn't make sense. They always just say, hey, the pension ordinance is as it is. The only changes are going to be as follows.
Is it possible that the members are protected as well through the fact that they have to ratify any of these changes? I mean, presumably, if you're ratifying changes, you're looking to make sure the mother document is.
Assuming we remove everything below 25.1, the only way the only reference to the pension is that basically we agree with the police pension fund ordinance. So if there were a change to be made, the contract wouldn't protect it, but he's saying that that can't happen.
Yeah, I am saying that if they tried to change the pension in any way, okay, as it exists now, the only changes that can go into effect are the ones we agreed to this time around.
Right.
Any other changes or removals or drawbacks, oh yeah, I can not only can I file a grievance on it, I can file an unfair labor practice on it. We are 100% protected.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I needed to hear.
Understand that. Okay, good. So are we good with this document as written, or?
As long as that does what you want it to do.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we step outside for just a second?
Oh, sure. All right, we're taking a temporary break here.
Do you need me to shut, are you guys going to talk? Do you need me to shut that recording off?
Maybe shut the recording off,
Okay.
please. That'd be great. Thank you. I
Yep.
appreciate that. I just don't want us to forget and start talking about what
Yeah.
actually happened.
Okay, recording is off on this side. Are you gonna close that, or?
Well, I'm waiting for.
Oh, I didn't realize.